What's going on, you guys? Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and I'm going to be going over the box office report. Now, I like looking at this each and every week because it gives me a good idea of where exactly the industry is going to be going, what movies we can expect to get sequels, maybe movies more like it in the future, stuff like that. You guys know what the box office is. It's the report that tells you how much money a movie's made, alright? It's all fine whenever a movie is good and it's gotten great audience ratings, but at the end of the day, you're not getting a sequel unless the movie makes some money. So today I'm going to be talking about this weekend's box office report and also just what's been going on with the movies featured here over the last couple months, because it's stuff that I've really wanted to talk about, but I've never actually sat down and done a video about. I want to do stuff like this every so often whenever there's a headline so pressing that I just can't help but talk about it. And the big story that I want to talk about today is The Batman, because it is a mega hit. Now, we all know that The Batman was very well received by both audiences and critics, but whenever it comes to the numbers, it has outperformed at least my expectations. In its opening weekend, it brought in $134 million, which is slightly above what was predicted of it. So, it performed well, but it wasn't like $200 million. It didn't get Spider-Man No Way Home sort of numbers. But the thing that I think people aren't paying attention to are the weekly percentage drops that we're seeing here. Now, in case you aren't familiar with the box office report, typically, most of the time, your opening weekend is whenever you're going to get a bulk of your money. People are excited to go see the movie. They want to go see it first. So then what happens with most movies is the box office just takes a huge nosedive there in the next couple weeks. Typically, by the percentage drop each week, that's how you can tell if a movie is good or not. It's telling you if people are coming back to the movie theater, if they're recommending it to their friends, if people are seeing reviews online and they're deciding, oh, I want to go spend my money to go see that movie. And the big thing with The Batman is in its second week, it only dropped 50%. And I know if you don't follow the box office report, that seems like a lot of money, but really, it's not at all. In fact, that is an excellent percentage. As a reference point, if you look back at Batman vs. Superman in 2016, it dropped nearly 70% after its opening weekend. Usually for a new release, if you're within the 60-ish mark, you did pretty well. So 50% is a huge number for The Batman. It means that it's super well received and people want to go see it again. But now, after the third weekend that it's been out, it only dropped 44% from the second week numbers, and this is absolutely giant. Now, granted, there haven't been a whole lot of new releases, so the big movie out is still The Batman, but that still tells you that people are coming back into the movies, and honestly, The Batman is doing a huge favor for movie theaters across the nation. Originally, whenever this came out, I thought that it might make $500 million worldwide total. This was partially because it was going to hit HBO Max after 45 days of it being in its theatrical run, and also it's a 3-hour movie that's more serious. It doesn't have that mass appeal that something like Spider-Man No Way Home had. But The Batman has already hit nearly $600 million worldwide. So to call this thing a smash hit would be underselling it. It's sitting at a great percentage on Rotten Tomatoes. It's being very well received by the audience, and it's made a ton of money. This tells me a lot about what Warner Brothers is going to do for the future of this movie. Or should I say the future of the Batman franchise, because they're doing something different now where a lot of their DC films just aren't interconnected the way that they used to be. This was, of course, due in part to the train wreck that was the original DCEU, where they basically just forced the Justice League on us. But after Warner Brothers saw how well Joker performed, being nominated for Best Picture while also picking up over $1 billion worldwide, I don't blame them for pushing forward with a more, single film sort of push. Now, I'm still curious about how they're going to move going forward because The Flash is supposed to be super interconnected, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But The Batman is still not connected to anything. So what this is resulting in is a series of HBO Max shows that are going to be released here in the next couple years. Now, the director Matt Reeves has already confirmed 2 series in The Penguin and Arkham Asylum, but I think because of the box office and how well it's being received, we can expect even more. Now, I could sit here and theorize about what kind of series they're going to be doing in the future, where they want the plot to go for the future movies. Hint, hint, I really want the Court of Owls on screen. I've only read a couple of Batman comics, but I've read that one, and oh my god, that would fit into this universe like a glove. We have to do that. But basically, Warner Brothers, what we can expect from them is they're going to double down with this idea that the Batman is in its own universe. So I wouldn't expect Robert Pattinson to be palling around with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman or Jason Momoa as Aquaman anytime soon, if ever. And frankly, I think that's a good idea. I have no problem with keeping this universe on its own. It's overall a very different tone than Aquaman, Wonder Woman, or anything that's been set up in the DC so far. And that doesn't even make those movies bad. They're just different tones. I love Wonder Woman, and I might lose some of you here, but I didn't mind Sorry about that. My power actually just went out, and it was kind of startling. It is storming where I'm at right now. I honestly lost my train of thought. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, it doesn't even mean that those movies are bad. It's just different tones. If you haven't watched the Peacemaker miniseries, I recommend that you watch it. Or it's not even a miniseries, it's just a TV show. But anyway, I love that show. Completely different from the Batman. I also love the Batman. So we're getting the 2 more TV series. I would expect even more in the pipeline in the future. And I know Matt Reeves said that he wants to take a break between this movie and the next Batman film, but if I were a Warner Brothers executive, I would want that as soon as possible. And honestly, these are also just pandemic numbers. Not everyone is still going out into the theater. So who knows the numbers that this could have done if everyone could still go to the theaters. And also if it wasn't being released on HBO Max in late April. I know I've talked to a few people that are just waiting until that drops. But I'm so excited that it's making money because it means that we're only going to get more. The next thing that I want to talk about in the box office report is Uncharted. Now, Uncharted is kind of in the same boat as Batman is, where its weekly percentages have really not gone down too much. After its first initial week, it only went down 47%, then 51%. Now it's only going down 16 to 13%. Granted, it's still making less and less money each week, but people are still going to the theater. It's still getting people to crawl in there, and it's made a low-key $337 million worldwide. And this is on a $120 million budget. Granted, whenever you look up these budgets, they don't include marketing. So usually what I like to do is I take about half of the budget and I just slap that on top. But for me, Uncharted needed to make about $180 million for it to be profitable. Now, to warrant a sequel, it needed to be highly profitable. So with $337 million, I think it's pretty much guaranteed that we can expect to hear about an Uncharted 2 basically any week now. I would expect probably whenever it's finished its theatrical run. And honestly, I'm on board. I went into Uncharted not expecting Shakespeare. I expected a fun action-adventure movie starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, 2 of my favorite actors today. And you know what? That's exactly what I got. I had a blast. I didn't take it seriously. Me and my friend that I went, we laughed almost the entire time. We had fun. And honestly, I'm just so glad that it made money, because what I want to see in the sequel is maybe they can up it a little bit, make it less tongue-in-cheek and maybe more of a not serious movie, but not serious, but I still want it to be fun, somewhere in the middle, like a good Indiana Jones. I know that's a high comparison, but maybe something like that. The other reason why this is huge is it proves Tom Holland doesn't have to be playing Spider-Man in order for a movie that he's in to make money. So we can expect to see Tom Holland to be in a lot more big movies. Or maybe not even big movies, whatever movies he wants to do, because now studios are seeing, okay, like this guy, whenever he's in a movie, people are going to show up. So he can basically do whatever he wants now. Tom Holland's a movie star, and you know what? I'm for it. You go, Tom Holland. The next thing I want to talk about is Death on the Nile. Now, I know this movie came out like a month ago, so I may lose some of you guys here, so that's fine, but I'm still going to say whatever I want to say. This movie has done what I didn't expect it to do after its opening weekend and stay within the top 8 after about a month. In its opening weekend in the United States, it only made $12 million. Now, granted, for pandemic numbers, that's not like terrible, but still for a movie that cost $90 million to make, not good. But you know what? After several weeks, this movie is still chugging along. It's not making a lot of money every week, but like $5 million here, $3 million here, it's slowly making its money. And now it's actually sitting at about $130 million worldwide. Now, like I said before, that figure does not include the marketing budget. So really, in order for this to be profitable, I would slate it at about 135, 140. Now, this one may have had even more in its marketing budget because it had to be pushed back several times. So there have been marketing pushes here, there's been a trailer here, and it's just kind of been lingering for a while. So frankly, I don't know if this movie is profitable or not at this point. I feel like it should just be barely squeezing by, but again, I just don't know. However, Kenneth Branagh has already come out and said that plans for a sequel are a go. Even the president of 20th Century came out and said that the third film is a go. So it just leaves me here scratching my head as to how much this movie actually costs to make and how much they expect to make in the future. Now, this movie was kind of a mixed bag for me. I thought it was just alright, if I'm being completely honest. It just took a long time for the plot really to get going. I'm all for character development, but it just, nothing grabbed me, and I kind of saw the twist at the end coming about halfway through the film. But still, Death on the Nile, I think what we're seeing right now is maybe 20th Century is taking concessions on the actual box office, giving all of the factors that play into that, and they're looking at the critic and the audience scores, and they're saying, we want another one. I also think it's a good idea to keep Kenneth Branagh happy right now, because the dude is probably about to win an Oscar for screenplay, and he just got nominated for director and picture. And I love murder mysteries, so as long as we can get a third movie here that I guess is a little bit more compact and quick on the draw, then I'm all for it. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is a movie that probably a lot of you have not heard about, and that's called The Outfit. This movie is about a tailor that I guess has mob ties, and it takes place over an evening where a lot of different mob stuff happens. I don't know. That's just kind of what I got from the trailer. Well, this movie came out this last weekend, and it unfortunately crashed and burned. And I say unfortunately because it stars Mark Rylance, and I love him as an actor. I think he's one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood today, and that's saying something because he still has an Oscar, and I'm sure most people have never even heard of him. And what this tells me is we're going to see even more of a push for movies like this to get pushed straight onto streaming, and we... All right, we're back. But like I was saying, I think we can expect to see more movies like this that are more mid-budget. I don't have the budget figures in front of me, but it doesn't exactly look like a big-budget movie in my opinion. Probably around the 30 to 40 range given who's in it, but again, I could be completely wrong. Sometimes they're just kind of hard to tell. We've all seen over the last couple of years, more of those mid-range budget movies are being put onto streaming, which isn't even necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of great movies being put onto streaming, and it gives a voice to a lot of different creators that would never get their movies into a theater. But the thing is, we can't keep complaining whenever mid-budget movies aren't being put in the theater and it's only superhero films. Because whenever we look at something like The Outfit that came out and didn't make a lot of money, didn't have a huge big-name actor, it only had Academy Award winner Mark Rylance, like, what has that guy done? And it's not carried by a huge IP or a big-name director directing it, we're just not going to see many movies like this in the theaters anymore. And The Outfit has outstanding reviews. It's sitting at a 91% Rotten Tomatoes, so this just proves further and further that pure critics reviews and how it's being received just isn't enough for a movie like this to actually come out and make money. Even against a movie like The Batman that's in its third week and you're facing next to no competition really, you still don't make money. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of movies like The Outfit put into theaters anymore. And that's the way that the market has been trending over the last couple years, but this is, honestly, in my opinion, just another nail in the coffin. But those are my big takeaways from this week's box office report. Like I said, I don't want to be doing this each and every week, but I just saw a few headlines here that really grabbed my attention that I wanted to talk about. Let me know if you thought this was interesting, and I'll plan on doing more in the future. Sorry for all of the technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on right now, but I'll see you next time on the 100 Movie Marathon. Thank you so much for watching.